yeah, I live along the flight path of the Minneapolis St. Paul Airport, or close enough. You know, the planes fly sometimes straight overhead, most of the time near overhead. But anyways, yeah, I hear these planes, and so I get curious. Well, what planes are what, and you get familiar with the sounds of aircraft, or what planes sound like what. And recently I was actually laying in bed, waking up during the afternoon. I have a funky sleep schedule, but anyways, yeah, I was like, oh wait, just waking up, and I heard a plane I did not recognize, but I thought it sounded, I suspected it sounded military. Somewhat similar to a C-130, but it had more of the jet engine noise. Like it's a a turboprop like a C-130. Like a turboprop is just a propeller airplane, but the engine is a type of jet engine that's turning the propeller. That's why they call those turboprops. But anyways, yeah, like a C-130 has more of a propeller sound. The sound of the propeller is louder, but this one, the jet engine noise that was turning the propeller was more prominent. It was different than anything airplane I'd heard before, and so I thought, oh, what was that? But I figured, oh, by the time I got up, it would be too late to actually be able to see it overhead. But I was able to go online, and I go to the Flight Radar 24, this website that will display all sorts of flights, including sometimes military flights. You can track them, see what's going on, where they're going, where they came from. And I found the plane. It was still in southern Minnesota at the time, and sure enough, it was military, but it was not U.S. military. It was Royal Air Force, United Kingdom, UK RAF, and it was an Airbus A400. So that was different. Now, that's a big plane. I think it's like a cargo type of airplane, I believe. Actually, I haven't done a whole. I should do some research. But yeah, I just want to make sure I got this video out. It was like otherwise I tend to procrastinate. Yeah, and then by the time I got done any research, it would be, I just wouldn't get around to making the video. So I just want to. I think the plane's a little bit bigger than a C-130. I believe it is a type of military cargo transport airplane. It's a pretty wide plane. It's similar to a C-130, but I think it's a little bit bigger, and it has this one of the most prominent aspects of it. It has a long antenna shooting out the front of it, or the nose of the plane. There's this long antenna. There's one long antenna shooting out front, straight out front of it, and it's a little unusual. But what's even more unusual is that it's having a foreign military aircraft over the United States, over the U.S. Now, over the U.S., we're flying all across. We'll start in Canada. I mean, well, actually, originally began in England, in the United Kingdom. It stopped over at Nova Scotia in Canada, far eastern Canada. It's presumably to refuel. That's a long ways to fly without refueling. And so then from there it went over, stopped by at here in Minneapolis, St. Paul International, MSP, presumably again to refuel. And that's why I heard it, is that after his taking off, leaving MSP in Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport, that then I heard it overhead. I was like, oh, what's that? And then from there it flew all the way over to, landed way out in California, way far southern California, in an airport, Blythe, B-L-Y-T-H-E. airport just outside of the rather small city of Blythe, California. It's close to the Arizona border, way in far southern California, and it's like deep in the desert. There's nothing out there. This airport appears to be very little used. It doesn't get much use at all. The airport's has a runway that's has two main runways. Both are not the longest. I think they're a little bit over a mile each in length, long enough to for some bigger airplanes to land on. But I don't think it's controlled. I mean, by that I mean I don't think there's a full-time air traffic control tower manned there. But it's a little odd, very odd. Like the U.S., that's the sort of thing the U.S. does. We're always sending our military all over the planet. We have some 800 military bases around the world. But it seems highly unusual for foreign military to come to, not only to come to U.S., but to fly all across the airspace of the whole U.S. pretty much, or just about after they left Canadian airspace, and they went through much of the U.S. airspace through across the country. So why? What is the purpose of that? And so the only reason is I can only speculate. Of course, I'm not privy to any information, and I don't have any evidence for my speculation. It's just a matter of process of elimination. Why would they be flying all the way over here using a tremendous amount of fuel? These are big engines. They just go through tons of fuel, and it's a valuable aircraft, and the pilots and the crew, they're valuable. Their time is valuable, and after so many hours they have to do maintenance, and so this using all sorts of hours on this military aircraft, flying all the way from England to the U.S. They don't do those sort of things for no reason. I mean, there must be some very important reason why they saw the need to fly all the way from England to the U.S. I've never known. All the times I'm monitoring the airspace over here in the Twin Cities and on Flight Radar 24.com, I've never seen any instance where there's foreign military aircraft over U.S. airspace. I try to monitor that sort of thing, and like plane spotting. I've never seen that before. And so why? What was the purpose of this? To fly an airplane from England all the way across halfway across the globe, and land deep in the desert in this remote airport that gets very little use in far southern California, away from any big cities. So it seems like as though they were trying to avoid having they wanted to avoid having witnesses as much as possible, having as little chance as possible as witnesses. Why don't they want to have witnesses? And once they landed in this remote airport deep in the desert. Well, now could it be that they have some kind of maybe have something to do with alien aircraft? Could they have maybe alien UFO crash landed similar to the Roswell somewhere in England, and then they had to quick gather it up, the wreckage, and put it on a large enough aircraft that could transport it. And since they didn't have maybe they didn't have an aircraft, a U.S. aircraft. Now why wouldn't they just keep it right there in England? Well, maybe they don't have the capabilities to investigate and do this sort of like reverse engineering of that kind of thing like they do here in the U.S. And so maybe there's some kind of collaboration between there's already a lot of collaboration between the UK and the US in military matters, secrets like that. So maybe they figured, oh well, we'll let the US investigate this. We've already agreed to this. Maybe in the event of a alien spacecraft crash landing, we're going to have the US investigate it because they have greater capabilities. Starting with like the Roswell incident, they got all the infrastructure and know-how to reverse engineer and investigate the crash landing of alien spacecraft. So they're like, oh well, so we've already agreed to, if that happens, we're gonna get it over to the U.S. investigators in the Southwest U.S. Now this airport is not too terribly far. It's not super close to the Area 51. So you might wonder, well, why didn't they just land at Area 51? Well, there's all sorts of possibilities. Maybe there's already too much scrutiny at Area 51. So then there's a lot of staff there as well, and so the powers that be they want to keep the secret. Maybe they want to have as little chance as possible for any eyewitnesses. There's too much scrutiny and too many personnel at Area 51 to risk having one of those members of the staff at Area 51 witnessing it and risking them leaking it, the witnessing of removing the aircraft, these alien spacecraft from this A400. And so maybe they have a different protocol now to keep this as secret as possible, and so maybe they choose this remote airport and then secure it before the landing, and then once the aircraft is removed, then they may be put on a special truck. Then from there they transport it to another facility for reverse engineering and research of the aircraft. Now, of course, this is very all speculation. I admit that. It is as far as possible from a smoking gun as evidence for my claim that an alien spacecraft was transported via this A400 that I was an ear witness of, and then later just found on the website and tracked it to the Blythe airport. So yeah, this is all speculation, all circumstantial evidence. So I'm just using the process of elimination to determine why in the world were they flying a UK RAF active duty military aircraft halfway across the globe to a remote airport deep in the desert. What other possibility there could be? Sometimes that's just the case, that the most far out explanation is the most rational. Now, there's nothing irrational or illogical about the possibility of alien spacecraft visiting the Earth. Visiting the Earth. So, and then sometimes they may have technical difficulties and crash. In those cases, it seems like there are governments, for whatever reason, try to keep those incidents as secret as possible. And I think after Roswell, the people who have the most capabilities to research those incidents exist here in the U.S. in the southwestern part of the United States. And so that's why. So why else would they make such a flight all the way from England for going through all that fuel, all that airtime, valuable military aircraft. Well, what other explanation could there be? I can't think of any. I mean, they're everything else they should be able to do. They're all sorts of whatever maintenance. And we have plenty of our own aircraft. We can here in the U.S. we don't need. I don't think we need the UK's aircraft. Yeah, we have plenty of aircraft here already in the U.S. The U.S. Air Force and Navy. I think we have enough. We don't need to be calling on the UK to say, hey, could we need one of your A400s? Could you send us one all the way over here to the U.S.? Well, we want to move some stuff, and so we're a little short on transport aircraft. We don't. Yeah, we could use one. So would you mind flying one of your A400s halfway across the globe? We could use that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, our nearly $1 trillion annual budget's not enough to cover that sort of thing. We got to move some boxes. Yeah, we're moving some warehouses, and we got pallets. We move some pallets. So we could use one of your A400s. So UK, yeah, send us one over here, please. We'll pay for it and everything, pay for the fuel, so don't worry about that. Well, but yeah, we could use we gotta move some boxes, yeah. Get their pallet, our two wheelers, move them in there. I think your A400 has a ramp, right? And we're gonna move a 2-wheeler and pallet jack. We're gonna move those boxes onto your A400 so we can move some stuff, move some boxes around. Yeah. No, I don't think so. So what other reason could there be, other than the need to hurriedly get a alien spacecraft transported over to investigators in the U.S. Yeah, that seems like the most reasonable explanation to me. I don't know why else they would do such a thing. I think they just didn't want to have to move the aircraft over to another U.S. aircraft, because that's always a danger of more witnesses possibly seeing it when they move it over to another aircraft, and they just wanted to get it over here as quick as possible. And so that's all they had at the time was an A400. I'm speculating, and so that's what they had, and they didn't want to. Also, there could be potential damage if you transfer it from one aircraft to another unnecessarily. So that's what I'm speculating. That's what I'm thinking. That's my suspicions, and it's just a suspicion. Just a speculation. I realize that. But what other rational explanation could there be? Why they would fly aircraft all halfway across the globe to the U.S.? We already have plenty of aircraft like that. We got our own aircraft. Why would they need to do that to such a remote airport? Little used airport deep in the desert. I don't get it. Other than there's some kind of really secrecy cloaked reason they wanted as few witnesses as possible. Why wouldn't they want to have few witnesses as possible? Well, anytime there's involved with where alien spacecraft and aliens are involved, then they really want to have secrecy and have as few witnesses to see it as possible. So they'd love to have this airport deep in the desert, very little used. That would be the ideal airport to use. I think this Blythe airport just outside of Blythe, California. Very few witnesses there. Excellent airport to be transporting alien spacecraft. That's my suspicion. It's just a suspicion and speculation. I realize that, but if anybody watches this and has any other ideas, please, yeah, comment and let me know. I'm really curious about this case. One other point, yeah, I tried to comment about this incident in a different YouTuber's video in their comment section. I mentioned it, and the YouTube robots robo-deleted it. So that may be more suspicious. Well, why can I comment about it? I did not. I know you oftentimes if you put a outside web address, I just wrote the first time I tried to comment. I put in flight radar 24, but I left out the .com. But it still deleted it. So I thought, well, maybe they're still robo-deleting it, even if you don't put the .com on there. If you put the name of the website without the .com, it'll still maybe it'll still robo-delete it. So I left out flight radar, and I put in just a flight traffic website I wrote instead of the flight radar 24. And so then I typed in my comment. No, I already saved it to my local drive. Because I know that often happens. Oftentimes YouTube will robo delete comments. So you always want to save your comments locally. You never know when they'll get deleted. But so I pasted it back on without the flight radar 24. And I just did a flight traffic website I wrote down there, and it still, and then I clicked, after a minute or so, I clicked on show first comments or most recent comments, and then that way you can tell whether or not your comment is still being allowed to remain. And nope, the YouTube robots still deleted it. So they're hiding this. They don't want me to talk about it. So that made me that motivated me to make this video. So I'm gonna make a video now. So see if that stays. Well, we'll see if this is allowed to remain. And for the description of the video, I'm just gonna put the comment that I wrote, and see if that's allowed. There should be able to put it out. I think in the description part, I'm allowed to put in outside web addresses. So I'll put in the flightradar24.com and see what happens. Yeah, but that'll be interesting. See if this video is allowed to remain on YouTube. Well, we shall see. It was allowed to remain on Twitter. I've put it on Twitter. So, but it was not the comment was not allowed on YouTube. But let's see if the video and description are allowed to remain here on a YouTube website. This should be interesting. All right. I guess that's all for now. If you're still watching, thanks for watching.